Welcome to the Arnie Ball Show. This week we have as our guest David White, also known as Isaac White from the volleyball team. We're going to review last week's win over Quincy, our first conference match of the season, and look forward to this weekend's matches against Findlay and Penn State. So please stay with us here on Channel 56.
I'd like to volunteer for something in legal aid. I was an assistant district attorney in New York City. I successfully prosecuted everything from extortion to murder.
That was a TV show. You weren't really an assistant district attorney.
I guess this isn't really a badge.
That's a Screen Actors Guild card.
I can spell habeas corpus. H-A-B.
When you help your neighbors, you help your nation. Everyone can do something.
Visit us at uscfreedomcorps.gov.
Welcome to this week's Arnie Ball Show. I'm your host, Mark Franke. Our sponsors, once again, are Fujifilm, Freedom Financial, Glenbrook Dodge, Alco Distributors, Farm Bureau Insurance, and Marathon Oil Company. Well, before we started this segment, Mike Moss and I were arguing about who weighs the most, and gave you a nice thrill. You enjoyed it, didn't you?
Now I know why he hides behind that table all the time at the games.
Yeah, right. I think it's all the hot dogs he eats during. He's like, remember Dizzy Dean when he used to do baseball games? He'd always say, "Pass me another hot dog, partner." Pete, we'd have to hand him another hot dog. You eat like 6 of them during the course of a baseball
game.
game.
Yourself. Nobody knows who Dizzy Dean is except you and me.
Dizzy Dean and Pee Wee Reese. That's how I became a baseball fan. We got a TV, and on Saturday afternoons they had baseball games.
It was the only baseball game on, so
that's right.
We all watched it.
That was about the only channel, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
Channel 15.
John reminds me about Falstaff beer, of course. Good local product.
Yes, it was.
Yep.
Yes, it was.
No longer in business.
Well, I tried to help them out as much as I could.
Well, they took over the site of the old Berghoff Brewery, which is the Berghoff family, still real big in Fort Wayne. Got a lot of close friends who are Berghoffs. And the Lutheran Cemetery looks down right over the old site there of the brewery. And I've told my wife that's where I want to be buried. Because my family on my mother's side are buried in that cemetery. And of course, then there's a new Lutheran cemetery out east. I don't want to go out there in the country. I want to be overlooking the site of the Berghoff and Falstaff Brewery. So on the resurrection, I'll be first in line to
you still think
the
there's
belly
a hidden tank there of some kind? They can run a line up and put intravenously after you underneath the ground?
I think so. When the good Lord comes again, when Gabriel blows that trumpet, I want to be first in line at the brewery.
We can probably arrange that.
Yeah, it's probably sacrilegious, and I'm in real trouble now. Right?
You remember when we were out in Buffalo, New York, a couple years ago playing in the fall, and we went to Niagara Falls?
Yeah.
That's the first thing I thought about when you and Mike Moss were talking about his rotundness. That's the first thing I thought about. Putting him in one of those barrels.
Oh, they have a little museum there? Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
It was a little kind of, I don't know whether he'd fit in that barrel or not, but you kind of put him in that barrel and just push him over.
The amazing thing is they still have some of those barrels in good enough shape to put in the museum to show people, somebody went over the falls. And
it's pretty incredible. It really is. I don't know why I thought of that. It's just, maybe it's because he's kind of round and looks like a barrel. I don't know.
He's giggling uncontrollably back there in the control room right now.
I have to feed him a hot dog so he quits laughing.
If it weren't for Mike Moss and his granddaughter, I don't think the concession stand would stay in business. The softball team would not make any money back there.
I know if Mike doesn't come to the game, Keith Fisher begins to wonder where they're at and where he's going to get his next dollar for the softball team.
That's right.
So we're glad Mike shows up.
We're glad Mike shows up.
On a regular basis. Speaking of showing up, she's in Vail skiing.
Oh, Bullseye?
Bullseye.
Yeah, she said she was going skiing.
She's in Vail. Party animal.
Doesn't she have
being a snow bunny in Vail?
Doesn't she have spring practice or anything?
She doesn't have a job.
I thought she had administrative duties in the athletic department.
Obviously not.
Well, that's interesting.
Now, are we jealous or what? I mean, she was with us in Puerto Rico. Now she's in Vail skiing, doing whatever.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's why I don't have anything to say about her because she's not here.
So that leaves us back here, and we're going to have to talk about Quincy, aren't we?
Yeah, we can do that.
We
a long way from nowhere.
Well, Quincy had to come to us, so
We played at home.
we played at home. That's right.
Oh,
And,
I'm already thinking about that trip.
Did Quincy actually beat us twice last year? Does
That's
I remember?
correct.
Wow.
They did beat us.
That's the problem with coming off 2 losing seasons. Everybody you play, you have to pay back for what they did to you last year, and we paid them back.
We did.
We did.
Absolutely.
Actually, I didn't think we played particularly all that well, but we controlled the match.
We played okay in games 1 and 2. We beat them 23 each set. Didn't pass the ball extremely well, but we hit the ball at a pretty high percentage. We blocked a lot of balls, remember, early? Blocked a lot of
the
balls.
stats don't show that. I got in an argument with Colin Leiter after the match, who does the official stats, and he informed me that he knows what he's doing, and I should just mind my own business.
You got to remember that he played for me 25 years ago, so that you got to qualify. He knows what he's doing.
So he's getting a little too old to...
His eyes are going bad. He can't get all those.
He said a lot of those things that I thought were blocks, the balls never cleared the
Besides that, he was an old left-hander. So,
That's right.
I mean,
Left-handed people always have a distorted view of the world, don't they?
Consider the source and know that we blocked more balls than were on the stats. But I thought we did block some balls, Mark.
We did.
And we've been working on that. Maddie came up and did some video stuff with me, and I thought we got better that way. It was just a good win for our kids, knowing that we only had to play one match last weekend, and it was Quincy, a team that, we talk about paybacks, but it's really only a payback for Angel primarily, because he's really the only guy that was on our starting unit right now that played those guys. Dennis did, but Dennis was such a baby last year that didn't make a difference. He wouldn't remember that far back. But I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just, he's so new to our program last year. It was just a new experience for him. So really, Angel's the only guy that was really a payback for. The rest of the guys are all new.
Well, I think some of us old-timers on the bench had some payback.
Well, certainly. Absolutely.
That's right.
And I'm just really pleased for our kids, because I think we're playing well together. And, Sadar didn't play, and Mike Dyke came in and played, and I thought Mike did a really nice job for us of subbing for Sadar, which just adds to the depth that we've talked about with this team, and that's obviously a very positive kind of thing. And we just need to continue with that kind of a philosophy, knowing that we can get some players in to help us. Javier came in and did a good job also. Ryan Staley had a nice night at the libero spot. So there's some nice things happening, I think.
Ryan may be actually moving into a comfortable position for him. He's played nearly everywhere, but the libero, he just seems natural to that.
Well, he has the right mentality for it, for sure. He has the right attitude. And he's a good passer. He's very, very athletic and quick, and that libero position has to be that. It's so difficult to come in and play it, especially the way he's playing it, because normally you come in and play it twice. And right now he's only playing it once because we don't take Angel out of the back row. Even though the weekend with Santa Barbara, we let him come in for on-help part of the time in the back row too. So there's some other options, but it takes a real strong mental approach to the game to be able to play that position. And I think Ryan is growing into that position as we move along through the season.
You mentioned Mike Dyga being put in the lineup at the last minute. It was his mother's birthday, so she's absolutely convinced you did that just for her.
Well, she's wrong. I didn't know that till afterwards, but certainly her whole family was here. There were people from Michigan, Indianapolis. I mean, they're from all over the Midwest. Came in for the birthday party. I don't think they necessarily came here for the volleyball match, but it just worked out that Mike got to play and played really well. And we've talked before about Mike, and he's going to be a real fine player as he moves along in his career here at IPFW.
Well, we'll talk about Mike.
Are we done already?
Sure. Yeah, first segment's done.
That went by quickly.
Well, when you don't talk about the topic until 5 minutes into the 8 minutes, it goes quickly.
I'm sorry, when we talk about Mike, it goes quickly.
When we come back, Isaac White will join me, so please stay with us here on Channel 56.
Where there's a hurricane, where there's a forest fire, nature is at her worst, we're there. Where there's a search, where there's a rescue, where there are citizens in need, we're there. And now, when our country needs us most, the men and women of the Air Force Reserve are there to defend freedom around the world. Air Force Reserve, above and beyond.
Please, Dan. Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. Isaac White apparently didn't show up. He must have got hung up in classes, and so we're going to have to fill another 10 minutes.
10?
10
You
minutes.
told me it was only 4 or 5. Oh, we can make it work.
We
No
can make it
problem.
work.
Yeah, no problem. We can bash Mike Moss a whole bunch more, and we can get through it. No problem.
Okay,
Let's get to it.
let's get to it.
Yeah.
During the break, we talked about discussing how we prepare for matches. So why don't we start with that?
Sometimes we don't prepare very well. It appears to me. But it actually is not sophisticated, but it's and not complicated, but it takes a lot of time. We, within the conference, have an agreement to have a 2-tape exchange with every team. So we receive 2 videotapes from every team in the conference. And obviously those tapes then become very valuable in our preparation for matches that we're going to play, whether it be within the conference or outside the conference. For instance, this weekend we're playing Findlay and Penn State. Well, the Findlay tape we received from Quincy. Well, that was great because we got to do both teams off the same tape. Last spring, I guess it would have been, Coach Harley and I went together with both programs and bought software to the tune of about $4,000. It's pretty expensive software, but it does some great stuff that normally in the past I had to set it home in front of my VCR and do. What this stuff does is breaks down these tapes per rotation, and it's all computerized, all digitized and computerized. And so what that means is that Colin and Ryan take the raw tape, they take it in and put it on the computer, and then the computer brings up all of rotation 1, all of rotation 2, all of rotation 3, all the way through all 6 rotations. And then to put a scouting report together, all I have to do is look at that, and off the tape, I can put together the scouting report for 1, 2, 3, 4. Where before I had to search and fast forward back. I mean, it took me forever to put a tape. We really got to the point where we weren't sure it was worth it. So that tape exchange is critical for us. And then we look at the Penn State match this weekend. Ball State and Ohio State played in Hawaii early in January. And so I received that tape. So I have both the Ball State and Ohio State tape already broke down, like what we just talked about. So we go through and put together scouting reports, and obviously then we show the tape and the re-scouting report to the team and go over all that the whole week as we go along. So this week we will focus on Wednesday on just Findlay, looking at the scouting report that we put together off the tape, looking at the side-out tape, which now only takes us, maybe 15 minutes, where in the past it might take us 45 minutes because we had to fast forward and back up to find all the stuff we wanted to show the players. So it's cut down our time considerable, both as putting together a scouting report and in working with the team. Yeah, I mean, I know it sounds expensive, but it's been well worth it. This same software will also allow us to go through and pull out a particular player, whether it be our own, because we do the same thing for our own team. We actually scout our own team and have side-out tapes for our own team. So we can actually pull out number 5, Jeff Patak, and say we want to see him hitting in rotation 1 only. And we have that information. Where before you have to search through all that tape and find it. It's the same kind of software that they use in the NFL. You know, I can't speak to the NBA, but I know for the NFL and so on and so forth, and it's made a world of a difference in our preparation time for each individual team, all because we have tape exchanges, so we get our hands on those things.
Now at home, Roger and Lisa Horman are up on the track. We've moved them up there. and they're by the camera, and Colin has worked out where the camera is directly tied into the software so that it's already pre-coordinated or whatever, so you don't have to do it after the match.
Yeah, I mean, for a better terminology, we call it digitized. It's just a matter of the time code being matched up on the computer with the tape. and Lisa and Roger are amazing, the stuff they can do. Lisa can do 5 things at a time. She keeps a couple of charts with us and also programs the computer as the match is being played. So within 20 minutes, 30 at the max, I can actually have that side-out tape of both teams for me to use that night. Now, very seldom we use it that night. We usually use it the next morning. But it's just incredible what it does in regards to our preparation, not only for our own team, but for the teams we play.
When you said you also use it with the visiting tape, so then you have to put the tape in, hook up the software, and then you bring it together after you get the tape, right? Is that how you do that?
Yes.
You actually are copying the tape onto the hard disk of the computer.
That's correct. Yeah. Once we get the tape, then Colin and Ryan sit down and put in the information, like rotation 1 is at 45, rotation 1 is at 85. I'm talking about the time code now. And then once all that's put in there, then you just go, and the computer does it all. And I mean, the technology's been there for the last almost 10 years. And the original technology came out of Italy. And actually, that's where this software came out of also, even though we got it from the USA national team, it actually originated out of Italy. But it is incredible what it does for us in regards to saving time and the time of the players in regards to preparation.
So not only can you give them the scouting report on the team that's coming up, but then also the week afterwards, you take our tape from the weekend and you use that in your coaching for the week, your training for the week.
That's correct. We have all that information, so on Monday, we take our kids back into the video room and actually look at us. Rotation 1, rotation, I mean, just like we would the opposing team. And I can take Dennis Santiago, our setter, because now we have a shot chart also that Lisa keeps track of, and you do the one on the opposing team on our bench. We take those shot charts, and as we recycle, as we play Quincy a second time, we will take your shot chart, the videotape, and match them up. And so now we have probably more input than our players can really digest, but we have those that we match, and so we actually get a very, very good scouting report on those other teams, as well as a scouting report on our team. One of the problems that we've always had is that we don't get enough input back on our team. We always are concerned about the other team. Well, we can only control the other team twice a year, maybe 3 times. If we play them in the playoffs, we control our team every day. So this technology has been very helpful to us in coaching our team in regards to, looking at side-out tapes, looking at individual techniques. I mean, Jeff was in this morning, for instance, looking at his serving, and all he has to do is look at the side-out tape of Quincy, of which we have, and watch him serving every time. And where before we'd have to zip, try and find it, and it would take forever.
I might point out, just as a point of clarification, when Coach Ball talks about rotation 1, as a convention or a standard, rotation 1 always refers to when your server is the server. I mean, your setter is the server.
Right.
So that's always 1, and then it moves around. So, in fact, between the matches, when you're trying to give the lineup, you tell me to put in, you tell me what rotation to start in, and then I know how to set the lineup up, because you'll say rotation 5. I know that means that you want Dennis in middle front to start the game.
That's correct, and that's. I mean, Lisa keeps a lot of information, and of course you keep it on the opposing team, and we try and match those all up. But I sometimes forget the terminology is so common to us that for folks watching may not understand that, and so that's a very good point.
Yeah, and it really simplifies things, because you can very quickly give a whole lot of information. If you want to know what rotation is the other team starting in, I can say they're row 4. And right away you know exactly what that means. And we can tell that to our players. They know that means they know where the setter is, and it gives them an idea of what kind of offense might be run.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of information is so quick, and so we're so used to it that I just forget sometimes. And we needed to talk briefly too, Mark, about what it is you do on the bench, because it ties into all that scouting.
We only got 30 seconds left.
You can do it quickly.
Real quickly. I'm charting everything the other team does, particularly offensively, but also their blocking and so forth. And that allows me, as we get later into the match, I can tell you every time we serve what I think the tendency will be. Sometimes I can tell you what play I'm real sure they're going to run, or I can tell you what I know they won't do, so you can adjust our blockers and our backcourt defense to accommodate what we think is coming from the other side.
It's pretty amazing how the tendencies begun to come forward, isn't it?
And that's why I got that big board, because I got all 6 rotations out there. I can see the whole match in front of me at all times. Oh, we managed to blow 10 minutes.
Well, I think that's some interesting stuff, and it's certainly a lot of stuff that the common person wouldn't recognize goes on, for sure.
Sometimes we don't even recognize it goes on.
Sometimes we don't look like we're very prepared.
When we come back, we're gonna talk about Penn State and Findlay coming up, so please keep it here.
Sometimes I feel like other girls, but sometimes I don't. I can't write or play sports, or sometimes I can't even ride bikes. It's affected my wrists, my knees, and my ankles. I'm Amanda. I have juvenile arthritis.
Take control and log on to arthritis.org. We can help.
Hi, I'm Chris Klug, snowboarder, Olympic bronze medalist, and liver recipient. Every day, we make decisions that affect our lives and the lives of others. I'm living proof that the decision to be an organ donor is the right one. Make the decision to be an organ donor and donate life. Make the decision to be an organ donor. Make the decision to donate life.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. Arnie, going back to that first segment, we were talking about last weekend against Quincy. The player we ought to talk about is Matty Zivashevsky. He's starting to worry me. He only hit .500 last Friday night.
Well, you want to do better than that?
Well, he's been doing better than that frequently, so he had a number of errors, and so it pulled his average down to .500.
Matty struggled a little bit, as if .500 struggling, but he has struggled a little bit. He's had that knee surgery twice, and obviously he's still a little cautious of that, even though I think he's played very, very well this spring, or this winter. But he banged it on the floor last week, and on his kneecap, and he had some swelling underneath his kneecap, so he was out for a couple days. Yesterday in practice, we were trying to have a little fun, playing a little soccer, doing something a little different. Every time I try something happens. So he got frogged yesterday in that same knee yesterday. So he's mad at me for that. I said, wait a minute, what are you mad at me for? I didn't bang it on the floor and frog you. So he's a little bit, not tentative, but he's a little sore in that leg, and I really think that slowed him down a little bit, even though I still think he's playing very well.
So we're taping this on Tuesday, so the last incident happened on Monday, but by the weekend, we've got Findlay on Friday night. Findlay beat us last year, too.
At their place.
At their place.
We beat them here. Yeah.
I should point out, in the interest of full disclosure, I did not make the trip to Findlay because the university had me elsewhere that day, so I'm not responsible for that one. The Chancellor blames me for all our losses, but that one he can't.
You are not responsible. I understand I was responsible because we played during the middle of the week, and we had a big weekend before and a big weekend after. We're going to play them again during the middle of the week this year, but because of the closeness of them, it makes sense for us to do that, not tie up a weekend date for them and for us.
Yep.
So I know that it's not ideal scheduling-wise, but sometimes you just got to do some things that you don't want to do. We went over there last year and didn't play very well. And they obviously, we have that big circle on our back because of the reputation of our program, or on our chest or somewhere, that everybody takes a shot at. And they beat us. That's all there's to it. They just beat us.
I should also point out that Findlay, Ohio is the home of Marathon Oil.
That's correct.
So we went into their backyard and stole a sponsor, didn't we?
Yes, we did. And we're very pleased to have them on board. Absolutely. They've been very wonderful, been very gracious to us in regards to the support they've given us. And obviously this match is important because it's a conference match, and we have a significant number of our conference matches at home early in the season, so we need to get off to a really good start in regards to that. And obviously Quincy was a good start last weekend. We need to continue with that impetus here with Findlay on Friday.
Findlay's on Friday, and then Saturday night is Penn State. We didn't play them last year, but we're back in the home and home with them this year. What do you know about Penn State?
Well, we know a lot about them. They have two very, very good, actually three very, very good players. The reason they've struggled a little bit, they got beat by Lewis last weekend. They got beat by Ball State in Hawaii early January. They're struggling because they've lost their setter. They lost their All-American setter, Mr. Kionis, who is one of my favorite people to watch play, and hopefully he's going to be able to play this summer maybe as well with the USA national team. So they're struggling a little bit with having a player. They got two setters right now, and they're trying to decide on which one they want to use. But the young man from Mexico, the young man from Canada, and a guy named Slinker are very, very good offensive players. So the fact that they've lost to those teams isn't because they don't have quality players, it's because they're trying to regroup their system because they lost their leader.
And we've seen all three of those players you just mentioned because they were there 2 years ago when we played them.
Yep, they're no surprise. They're all, as a matter of fact, I believe they're all seniors, if I'm not mistaken. we know about what they're going to do, so that part won't change. It's just the fact that they can't execute like they were able to when Kionis was the setter.
Well, that's on Saturday night at 7 o'clock. Both matches this weekend are at 7 at the Gates Sports Center. Saturday night, we're also televising here on Channel 56. So if you can't make it out for whatever reason, you're snowed in or whatever, you can turn on Channel 56. But we'd rather have you in the gym if you can attend. We'd like to have a crowd, wouldn't we?
Well, we're expecting really good crowds. I was real pleased last weekend when we played Quincy. The fact that our attendance figures show we almost had 700 people there, and normally, not because Quincy's not a good program, because it is, but obviously it's not a named school like the Penn States are. I was real pleased with our attendance. We expect this weekend to obviously be even better. Once again, the Finley match is really the most important one for us, but the one that people recognize is the Penn State match because of the school and so on and so forth. So we're expecting a very large crowd Saturday night.
Well, come on out if you can. Otherwise, turn it on here on Channel 56.
We'd like to have people in the stands. It's so much fun. Our students have been wonderful and real rowdy at the games and so on and so forth. And it'd be nice to come away with a couple W's this weekend.
Will pep band be there?
I don't know.
I guess John says no pep band.
I don't know.
Well, I can run down to 30 seconds. I guess I ought to start going through the list of sponsors when we get out of here.
Better shut us down.
Head coach Arnie Ball. And our sponsors, Fujifilm, Alco Distributors, Farm Bureau Insurance, Freedom Financial, Glenbrook Dodge, and Marathon Oil, based in Findlay, Ohio, which we will see on Friday night. This is Mark Franke for all of the people here at Channel 56. John and Mike back in the booth. So long. Thanks for watching. Please join us again next week. Welcome to the Arnie Ball Show. This week we're going to preview two more conference matches at home, Mercyhurst and Loyola. We have as our guest Angel Ruiz, middle hitter. And when we come back, Arnie and I will talk about this last weekend against Penn State and Findlay. So please stay with us right here on Channel 56.
Hi, I'm Amanda Tapping. On Stargate SG-1, my character discovered that the Stargate could be used as a key to unlock an endless variety of adventures. Your key for endless adventure is a good education. Don't limit your options. Stay in school.
Welcome to this week's Arnie Ball Show. I'm your host, Mark Franke. And once again, our sponsors are Fujifilm Alco Distributors, Farm Bureau Insurance, Freedom Financial, Glenbrook Dodge, and Marathon Ashland Oil. And in fact, Marathon Oil was a sponsor last Saturday night, weren't they, for the Penn State match? Didn't you give them a little memento or something for the...
Dave Skoranek from Marathon Oil has been very supportive of our program, so we recognized him at before the match, actually, on Saturday night.
And then we lost.
So maybe we should never have Dave Skoranek back again.
Well, although on Friday night we beat Findlay, and that conference match was more important than the Penn State match in a lot of ways. And Findlay, Ohio is where Marathon Oil was founded or started. I'm not sure if their headquarters is still there.
I think they're still there.
Still there? So I guess it worked out okay.
If you like being 500, it worked out all right.
We like our sponsors even when we do lose, right?
We like our sponsors, period.
That's right.
No matter what. You are right there.
Well, we had an interesting weekend. We beat Findlay, although it was a little scary for a while. On Friday night, we lost game one, and we're down by, 4 points late in game two, when all of a sudden we had a miracle comeback and then won that match.
We were very fortunate, Mark. This group has has not done a good job of coming out being prepared to play. This has been a history of this team since the beginning, and we've talked about it with the group. We've tried to work on it in practice, and it hasn't made a difference so far. You know, Findlay and the Mercyhurst team are going to play Friday, and the Quincy's, all are teams that are trying to take a shot at you because of the reputation of your program, and so they come in and play at a very high emotional level, and sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad, but it seems like it's always good for those teams we're playing against. And if you're not prepared to play, they jump on you real quickly, and that's exactly what happened. Our offense is not very good right now because we're making way too many unforced errors. And when you do, and against teams like that, and they get a chance to get a little momentum going, then it's a struggle right to the end. We were very fortunate to beat Findlay.
We had the same problem both nights coming out slowly. It must be Coach Johnson's "let's start off strong" speech in the locker room just before we come up. We may have to rewrite that speech.
Obviously, whatever he says, or Rock says, or I say, I even showed him a videotape on Saturday night of what was a great play by Nick Bellman on Friday night, thinking maybe that put us a little bit in the right perspective of coming out and play. Didn't make any difference. So I don't think it's an external thing that the coaches are going to have to do. I think it's something internally the kids are going to have to make up their mind that they're ready to play when we start.
One of the things about volleyball is there seems to be such a long pregame warm-up. Isn't that kind of unusual?
We've cut it way back, Mark.
Well, I know it used to be we'd get in the gym 2 hours beforehand.
We've cut it way back. We don't come on the floor until 10 minutes before the hour that we're going to play. You know, so like a 7 o'clock game, we come on the floor at 10 minutes till 6. We come on for 20 minutes just to serve and pass the ball handle. We bring them back down into the locker room at 10 after, and by a quarter to 20 after, they're up on the floor stretching, do the things we need to do. And we only really handle the ball for 5 minutes, shared hitting 5 and hit 5 and ready to play. You know, basketball is 20 minutes, 25 minutes before they get done. So in actual time of handling the ball and stuff, it's pretty equivalent to that. It seems like to me we have a pretty good warm-up. We have Rock watch that in particular, and he was watching for Saturday night and looked like we were fine, you know, as far as our effort and the things that we got done. Doesn't seem to make a difference.
Well, we had the same slow start both nights. Then we came back, won game 2 against Findlay, won games 3 and 4. Then on Saturday night, had a nice crowd. The band was there, and we started off really bad game 1 there, and we lost by 10 points or something, didn't we?
I think the real highlight of Saturday is the fact, number one, that Coach Hartley got back without breaking a leg or an arm or whatever.
From a skiing trip.
Got a nice suntan from a skiing trip, had a great time. And then on top of that, she survived being the leader of the party bus. You know, that we had a group of fans that went out and had a good time on Saturday night before the game, and visited a couple of local establishments on the Summit Party bus, and Coach Hartley was the leader of that, and indeed they all survived and made it back okay. So I think that's the highlight of Saturday night. Don't have anything to do with the way we played.
Well, then we had to play anyways, though. I mean, we couldn't just call it a night by the time the bus got back.
Oh,
we had to
okay.
play anyways. We won Game 2. Game 3 then was, there's a critical point. We'll ask our guest about that critical point when he comes on. And then we lost Game 4. Our Penn State rivalry has been sort of like that. Strange things seem to happen.
Well, it's certainly been a long-standing rivalry that we've had with them, and there have been some very emotional highs and emotional lows playing Penn State, both at their place, our place, down at Penn State. You know, in the early '90s when we had a little emotional confrontation between players.
Both benches cleared.
Yeah, but it's a very a friendly relationship between players and certainly Coach Pavlik and our staff. The Saturday night match was very strange, but typical of a volleyball match. Penn State came out and played very, very well in Game 1, I thought. They served the ball like we served against Santa Barbara, the only time we served like that all year. And remember what we did to Santa Barbara? We annihilated them, and the same thing happened on Saturday night with us, the first game. I kept telling the players, and we kept telling the players, they can't play like that all night long. They'll come back down to earth. Sure enough, they came back to us. And we got in a rhythm, especially with our float serve, and they were a pretty non-factor offensively in Game 2. And, of course, in Game 3 goes back and forth. But our hitting percentages are still very, very poor. I think we hit less than 1% for the whole match. And we can't win like that. And we were in control of the third set, if you remember.
Right.
I mean, we're ahead 26-22, 28-24, somewhere in that, 27-24, I guess, have numerous free balls and opportunities to score and couldn't take care of the ball. I mean, it wasn't anything they did, it was what we couldn't do. And, of course, when we lost that particular game, it's so difficult to come back after you've been in that struggle and to play at a high level, and we didn't.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, we've been over the videotape. I probably looked at it 4 or 5 times, and the kids and I looked at it yesterday. I mean, there's no excuse for having lost Game 3 other than we couldn't execute. We couldn't handle the ball and couldn't take care of it, whether it's with the free ball or the serve. I mean, we couldn't serve. We couldn't handle the free ball. We couldn't set the ball. We couldn't put it away. Last time I checked, you lose when that happens.
Yeah. It's amazing we didn't get beat worse than we did looking at the stats, right?
Well, we were looking at the stats, absolutely. I agree with that. What's ironic is that Guerrero played very poorly for them. We got Zelko, which is their other second stud, out of the game. Slinker hits, which is their third player, hits in the teens. I mean, they're 3 really good players. Did nothing against us offensively. Their middles were pretty good. We couldn't stop their middle, and we still lost.
When we come back, Angel Ruiz, our senior middle hitter, will be with me. We'll talk a little bit more about the Penn State match, so please stay with us.
Step out of the car. Open up the trunk. Check inside. What's going on? Hands on the car. Bingo. Got it.
Today's teenagers, the way people talk, you'd think they can't do anything right. It's just not so. We get to know over 300,000 kids a year. Smart kids who know what they want. They believe in themselves, and they believe in America. Some go straight to college. Others choose to learn leadership, discipline, courage, and commitment first with us. Today's military, making a stronger America, one good kid at a time.
A new century is coming, and with it, 1,000 questions. Will your family ever be in harm's way? Will a small town in Texas be hit with a hurricane? Will your daughter ever need a new kind of blood treatment? We have no crystal ball for the world that awaits. just one promise. We'll be there.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. Our guest this week is senior middle hitter Angel Ruiz. And Angel and I are going to talk a little bit about the Penn State match this last weekend. Arnie and I were talking about it in the first segment. But before we go into that, Angel, we're going to straighten out this name business. We're going to explain to everybody how we can have two players with the same name but not the same name. So first of all, we've known you as Angel Ruiz. Your first name is actually Archangel. You've always gone by Angel since you've been here. Now we get another Angel Ruiz, but there is, in fact, a difference in the name. In Puerto Rico, like many of the Spanish-speaking countries, you actually append your mother's last name to your father's last name, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in your case, if I remember right from your freshman year, when we actually got your name wrong when you first came in, your full legal last name is Ruiz Negron. Is that right?
That's right.
But you go by Ruiz commonly even in Puerto Rico?
Yes. It's funny because when I came here, like you said, my full name is Archangel Ruiz Negron. And I thought it was easier for Americans to call me as Angel because I never thought that there was going to come another Angel Ruiz to the team. And so I shortened my name to Angel to make it easier. And now another Angel Ruiz comes to our team, and we have to differentiate by that last second name.
So yeah, so we introduce him as Ruiz Rivera, and also call him Angel as opposed to Angel, which is the correct Spanish pronunciation, right?
Yeah, that's what we figured out on our team, call him Angel and me Angel, so we don't have any mistakes over there.
But what happens in Puerto Rico is you all have nicknames. And for instance, they call you Archie, is what I noticed when we were down there.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
What is Angel called?
Just Angel.
Just Angel, doesn't have a nickname?
No, he doesn't have a nickname. Since my name is Archangel, they call me Archie.
Archie?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there have been some strange ones. Yours at least makes sense. We understand where it came from, but some of them, they don't even make any sense. They must go back. I've been told that they go back to when sometimes they were little kids.
Yeah, when they're little kids, their parents just don't want to say their name, so they just call them something, and that's how they stay.
Okay. So that's how we got two Angel Ruizes on the team. This is the one we actually call Angel Ruiz, and the other one, the freshman outside hitter, is Angel Ruiz Rivera, at least for this year. And next year he can be whatever he wants, I guess, right?
Next year he can be Angel Ruiz. So
that's right.
He can keep it going for 4 more years.
Actually, we could change him to Angel Ruiz on the roster, send him out, and everybody will think we're giving you a 5th year. We'll have an NCAA investigation on us, won't we?
Oh, probably.
Okay, going back to this weekend. Angel, you're a senior, captain of the team. By the way, I'm going to point out, to your embarrassment, that I think you've lost every coin toss since you've taken over the captain's job this year. In fact, last year you weren't very good at it, right? Didn't I tell you? I told you this weekend I wanted you to win a coin toss. I even went up to the Penn State player and asked if they'd let you win, and you still lost.
I know. It's that they don't let me call it when they throw the coin. So they have the other team always calls whatever they want, and they always.
Oh, it's just because we're at home. So when we go on the road, you're going to win the coin toss?
Every time.
Next Tuesday at Ohio State, you're going to win the coin toss. Okay, folks, you heard it here first. We will win the coin toss next Tuesday night at Ohio State. Going back to let's talk about Penn State, because you know the history and the rivalry we've had with Penn State. It was a big match, obviously. Even though it's not conference, it's important for both teams because we're high-caliber programs. Coach Ball was talking about how, first of all, we started very slowly, which has been a recurring problem for the team. Let's talk about that, and then we'll talk about Game 3. What is it, from your perspective, as a senior, as a captain, that causes the team to start so slowly, and what solutions would you have to offer for that?
I think when we go into the court, a few of us don't have enough confidence when we start playing. I don't think some of the players get in a rhythm easily, just going in. They get the rhythm of playing after a few minutes in, and by that time they always get ahead at least 10-4, 10-5, always ahead of us 5 points, and then in a rally score game it's really hard to come back, and that's when at the end of that game we always end up losing 30-28, 30-27. It's hard to catch up sometimes.
Do you think it's the crowd? Like, we had a big crowd Saturday night, noisy crowd.
On Saturday, I think, especially the freshmen, they were a little nervous on the court. And as a captain, it's really hard to control those feelings with those guys. But Penn State started really aggressive on us, serving really aggressive with Solko serving a jump serve, and they got ahead of us 5-1. Then we never got an offensive rhythm in the whole match, and I think that really affected us. And when we had to put the ball away to gain some transitional points, we never got them, and that's when everything came and they won the game.
When you talk about the rhythm, volleyball, in fact, is a team sport. On an offensive play, there are at least 3 people involved in that rhythm: the passer, the setter, and the hitter, and they all have to get the ball to a certain point, or they have to be at a certain point at exactly the right time, or that rhythm's off, right?
Of course, I think our first touch, which is our passing, is been okay so far. Our second, it's been okay also, but our third, it's not like our second pass is not moving the ball as well as we're supposed to. We're winning our matches because we're really athletic on the court, because of our ability to play the game, but we haven't had a rhythm or a chemistry as we're supposed to play, so we can beat these big teams like Penn State.
You're a middle hitter, Angel. Of course, you hit out of the back row as well. But when you're in the front row and you're hitting middle, we usually call that the quick attack. And there, the timing has to be just perfect, or the play can't come off, right?
Of course, it all depends on the first touch of the ball. Depends on how our passers, how the ball goes to the setter. And people think it's easy, but it's not. I mean, it's really hard to see the ball where the setter is moving, so you can be in front of him or behind him. It's hard for the setter to get the right ball to you. I mean, there's 2 middles, Sardar and me, and Sardar hits a higher ball, I hit a lower and quicker ball, so it's been tough for Dennis in that situation. I think that's why sometimes we don't get in that offensive rhythm, like I said before.
When you realize you're out of rhythm, and we're struggling, like in Game 3, we come back and won Game 2. Game 3, it's fairly close. We seem to have the ability to control that game, and yet right at the end, we made some errors. What's going through the player's mind when you get down to it, when do you realize that that's a critical part of the match at that point, or are you just playing 1 point at a time?
I think our team doesn't realize that we are good enough to beat those teams. I mean, at that moment when it was 28-26, I think, we didn't realize that we're good enough to beat Penn State at that moment, and that we cannot do easy mistakes like we did. We passed the ball poorly, and we did a few hitting errors, and they took over. And that's why I think we're lacking right now, that confidence to end up the games.
Is that something that you think will take some time for this team to come together as a team, since we've got so many freshmen and so few players that played together last year? In fact, it's just you and Dennis, really, from last year's team, because Jeff and Maddie were out. Plus, we brought in a couple of freshmen and Javi, a junior college transfer. Is it just going to be a matter of time, or is it something that maybe just it's an issue that a couple of players need to work on, or is it a whole team effort?
I think it's going to take a while, and it's going to be a team effort, like you said, because I think we haven't had a starting lineup already for every match. Jeff has been injured. Maddie sometimes doesn't practice. Jeff doesn't practice sometimes. And I think it's hard when you don't practice all the time with the same 6 players on the court to get a rhythm, and then come to Penn State and beat that team like that. I think we can be like on Friday fluently, but against Penn State is kind of harder when you don't have your starter outside hitter doesn't practice enough.
That's right, and we'll talk more about that in the third segment. I'll get it out when Arnie comes back. This is Channel 56, the Arnie Ball Show. Please stay with us.
As time flows on, there are places we return to again and again. Places that comfort us with their serenity. Places that astound us with their beauty. Places where our memories come to life. Precious places, timeless places, places that with your help can endure forever. I'm Paul Newman. Help the Nature Conservancy save the last great places around the world.
I was a liberal arts major in college.
I didn't speak a second language.
What could I?
What could I offer the Peace Corps?
The answer surprised me. I served in South Africa teaching HIV/AIDS awareness.
Working with my students in Nicaragua was a great experience. We taught each other a lot about our countries and cultures.
This is the Peace Corps today.
Redefine your world. Join the Peace Corps.
Apply now at peacecorps.gov.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. Arnie, in the last segment, you were back in the control room listening, I'm sure. Angel, we talked a lot about the rhythm of the team. I hear you say that on the bench a lot. We just don't have any rhythm. And he said the players understand that, and they think a large part of the problem is the fact that Jeff's injury, which he's not fully recovered from, his second problem, and in fact this last week did not get to practice at all, didn't play Friday night. Maddie sometimes has to be held out of practice, that it does make it difficult for the team to develop a rhythm that you'd expect to develop over time.
He's right on. I mean, we talk about that all the time. We're in hopes that Jeff is now over with the second incident that he had, and there's no reason to believe Doc thinks that they've got it taken care of now, so that the rest of the season he'll be able to train and practice. And of course, in Maddie's scenario, didn't have anything to do with his surgery of his knee. He got frogged playing soccer last Monday because we were trying to do something a little different, have a little fun in practice, so much for fun. And so he was able to practice for 2 or 3 days. And when that happens, it's real difficult to develop any rhythm, not only in the offense, but the communication, the passing, the serving, just everything. And if you noticed Saturday night in particular, Jeff and Maddie both had trouble serving. And some of that just comes from tired legs from the standpoint that they didn't practice as much as they need to all week.
And it really makes a difference when it's someone like Jeff Patak, who's senior, All-American candidate, someone that the team really revolves around because the other teams fear him so much that when he can't play to his full potential, it just harms the whole team.
Well, if you look at our team and the way we have it set up with Jeff next to Dennis and Angel next to Dennis and then Maddie at the other point on the triangle, we have those 3 kids in a triangle, and with Angel being so much different than most middles in the country and playing all the way around, we expect those 3 points to be the focus of our offense. And when one of those legs doesn't perform to the level of our expectation, then the rest of the offense suffers, because then the defenses are able to load up on someone else. I mean, in order for us to truly be successful, those 3 points on that triangle have to all be operating in high gear and very efficiently.
It affected Maddie quite a bit Saturday night as well. He's hitting for a phenomenal percentage all season long, and this last weekend he struggled, but Saturday night particularly.
Well, that's certainly true. He and Jeff both did not play well offensively, and if you look at Angel's numbers, they're not nearly as good as we want them to be, not necessarily percentage-wise, because that was pretty good, but volume. I mean, when he plays all the way around, he's got to be somewhat close to the same kind of numbers that Maddie and Jeff had, and Jeff had over twice as many attempts as Angel did. Now, some of that has to do with the fact that, well, actually, our passing was the best it's been all year against Penn State. So, you know, that's contradictory to anything we ever talk about. But what Angel talked about, and we alluded to earlier a little bit in the first segment, is we couldn't handle the second ball to the point that would allow us to run the middle. If you look at rotation 5, which is where Dennis is in the front row and Angel's right front, Angel never saw the ball. Never got the ball. Never.
Doesn't make sense if the passing was better than usual.
That's exactly right. It doesn't make sense. You know, and Jeff gets all the balls, and Matty gets all the balls, and those two guys are hitting 0. So those are poor choices by our setter in that rotation, and it's also poor. It tells us that we, with our inability to handle the second ball in transition, where we could get the ball to Angel, we couldn't do it. And if you go back and look at the videotape, the two middle blockers from Penn State are very good about keeping their hands up like we try and teach our kids. Therefore, negating or slowing down our middle attack or our setter, and of course everybody already knows that Dennis can attack the ball, so they keep their hands or jump on him. And so we have to be creative, especially with Angel in our 4-2 offense, in running something other than just straight forward at our setter, if we're going to set him. Because if we just run straight forward all the time, and people know that Angel is obviously the third piece of that triangle, you know, they're going to jump with him.
I noticed that we've seemed to stop running a spread offense.
Yeah, number one, Angel and Sadar have got to be better at running that in transition, you know, and be more vocal. Number two, Dennis has to be more creative with our offense, and right now it's just all straight ahead. You know, it's hut go, B, 4-5, well, and pipe. Well, the Penn State blockers just stood in a circle and waited on our pipe with Jeff in particular, because we didn't set Angel very much on the thing, and his percentage shows it.
Well, I guess we're running out of time. We've got a minute left to talk quickly about what's coming up this weekend. We have Mercyhurst here at the Gates Center at 7 o'clock Friday night. Saturday night, we have Loyola of Chicago, a very good team in the conference. And that will be televised on Channel 56, so if you can't make it to the Gates Center, you're welcome to watch that and encouraged to watch that here on Channel 56. And then Tuesday night, we travel to Ohio State for our first conference road match.
It's a huge next week and a half.
Huge week and a half. So for middle blocker Angel Ruiz, our sponsors, Fujifilm, Freedom Financial, Glenbrook Dodge, Marathon Oil, Farm Bureau Insurance, Alco Distributors, head coach Arnie Ball, John, and the whole crew here at Channel 56. This is Mark Franke. So long. Thanks for watching, and please catch us again next week at the same time. Welcome to the Arnie Ball Show. This week we're going to be previewing two important conference matches on the road, Ohio State and Ball State. Our guest is David White. And when we come back, Arnie and I will be talking about last week's split of conference matches at home, winning against Mercyhurst and then losing to Loyola on Saturday night. So please keep it right here on Channel 56 Sports.
They came from every corner of the country. From small towns and big cities. But they all shared one thing in common. They belonged to a family called Marines. A tough and determined few, dedicated to protecting everything we hold sacred. And still they come. Celebrate the 225-year history of those proud few who have earned the title Marine.
Welcome to this week's Arnie Ball Show. I'm your host, Mark Franke, and our sponsors once again are Freedom Financial, Glenbrook Dodge, Marathon Ashland Oil, Farm Bureau Insurance, Alco Distributors, and Fuji Film. I am getting better at reading those sponsors. I'm reading them faster, but they are there in front of the camera. I do not have them memorized because I don't trust my memory at my age to a list of 6. Either we got to have fewer sponsors or a younger host or something here. By the way, we look like, I don't know what Mike Moss is laughing about back in the control room, but we'll take care of him later. Looks like our mothers dressed us the same today. Like the Bobbsey twins as we head out to Ohio State as soon as we're done taping here.
As soon as the show is done, being taped, I'm going home and change clothes.
Okay, you can do that as long as you're back by the time we leave, because if you're not there, we'll leave without you, and we'll split your meal money among the seniors on the team. How's that?
Actually, maybe I won't go home and change clothes. Maybe it's okay if they think you're me and I'm you. Right now, that's okay.
People get us confused a lot.
That does happen.
Yep.
It's the length of our hair. I think that's the problem.
Is that the difference?
I think that's it.
Well, my wife tells me that I'm starting to develop your haircut in the back. Although my barber, Rex Lepper, has steadfastly refused to comment on that.
Yeah, well, he comments on everything else.
No, that's right. I was at the barber shop Saturday morning.
Everything else.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I learn more there in an hour on Saturday morning than I learn on the job all week long.
Well, you can learn more there in 30 minutes if he and Kenny get after one another.
That's right. Yep.
Not necessarily something you want to learn, but you learn something.
And the Coach Johnson, of course, goes there too, so his name comes up every so often.
Yeah, my dad even goes there.
Yep. It's the hangout in New Haven, Indiana, isn't it?
For some of you.
For some of us, that's
yeah,
right.
That's correct.
Some of us who have hair that still needs cut.
That's right.
I guess we could talk about, I need to ask you, when I was out Sunday morning I got my driveway cleaned out, went in the house, sat down, I looked, there's a bobcat in your driveway, cleaning your driveway out.
That's correct. It wasn't me.
No.
I wasn't running the bobcat either.
I'm going to have to become rich like you and move into those villas where they do all that for you.
That's what happens when you have this high-powered job like I got. You get to move in a place where somebody else does all that labor.
Yep. Well, can I move in with you and just... Yeah, you
got
got a spare bedroom. You got all your kids out of the
house. Spare half the rent. Absolutely. That's not a problem at all. Matter of fact, no, never mind. We won't go there.
Okay, that's probably a good idea. Let's talk about something to get into less trouble.
Theory. Okay? This is a theory. The last weekend, not this last weekend, the weekend before when we played at home, Coach Harley was skiing in Colorado or somewhere. She's always off somewhere, right? This weekend, she's scheduled to work on Channel 56, doing the play-by-play on Saturday night.
Last Saturday night against
Loyola. She will do anything to get out of work, including allowing a roof on the gym to leak.
That's right. That was kind of an interesting match we had halfway through game one.
I think
the water's coming in through the vents in the roof, and they had to suspend the match.
Yeah, it's a 21-year-old leak, because it's been doing that ever since I've been here.
Right.
One that's unfixable, that Dave Danielson tells us, but I am convinced that Coach Hartley is the reason that happened, so that she, therefore, after game one, after set one, was out of there to party.
Actually, she did not leave. She was up on the track watching. What happened, in case you
I
weren't in
never
the
saw
gym?
her. I never
Actually,
saw her.
there
I
were a
don't
lot
think she
of
was
people.
there. I don't think she was there.
Well, I did check that out, because I knew this
could have been
would
her
come
twin sister, however.
up. It could have been her twin sister.
She has one of those.
Does she?
She just doesn't know that she exists.
More like a doppelganger, right? An evil
Could be,
twin.
yeah. You're right.
What happened last Saturday night is, because of the snow, the blizzard was coming in about that time. It blew in through a vent, melted, dripped on the floor, and we couldn't stop the leak. So what we shut down, and then decided to move to the side courts. We had to move the bleachers back. Fortunately, the gym wasn't full like it might very well be on a match against Loyola. We got all the fans on the other side. We moved and played on the far side then. They were a whole court away watching us. But during the interval, it took about an hour to get all that done. Brian Miller did a good job entertaining the crowd. He did karaoke, he did break dancing. He was doing all sorts of things over there keeping the fans happy.
I think that from now on, we'll just have an hour break between games 2 and 3 instead of 10 minutes, and we'll let Brian entertain the crowd. He was a lot more entertaining than what our team was, so
yeah,
why not?
We ended up losing, so they probably had enjoyed watching that
And
more.
I can't tell you the emails and phone calls I've gotten because Channel 56 had to go off the air on Saturday night. Everybody was intently sitting at home watching Channel 56 because they didn't have anything else to do in the blizzard.
That's right. You know, we were down to like 2.5 minutes left, and I was worried coming over here today to tape this that last week we were serious. We talked volleyball the whole time, and I'm sure the management here at Channel 56 got all sorts of complaints that they don't like us pretending we know anything. So I'm glad today we got off topic and talked about things we really understand, like water leaking in gyms. And
speaking of that, when did you get your driveway blown out?
Well,
did you get up early
yeah,
Sunday morning and do that?
I figured I was going to have to go over to church and clear that out. So I got half of my driveway done about 6, came in, and then found out that church was canceled. So I waited till about 8:30 to do the rest of it.
You didn't make your wife do the rest of it? Or have
No,
your wife?
no.
She's an expert at it.
I did it all.
She's very good when we go on the road. She does your driveway big time.
Well, unfortunately, we weren't on the road. I think you messed up the schedule. Normally, when snowfall like that hits, we're supposed to be on the road.
It's Hartley's fault. I'm telling
Yeah,
you,
it's
it's
still
always
blame
Hartley's fault. Or the big guy in the back here, Mr. Moss. We can blame him too. He's about like the weatherman. He kind of looks like the weather guy. You know, he's kind of the guy kind of like this, and he predicts weather kind of like the same.
The weatherman? You're talking about the snowman?
No, I'm talking about the weatherman.
Oh.
There's a weatherman here in our town on one of the TV stations that Mike Moss kind
Looks just like Mike?
Kind of looks like Mike. They have the same kind of physique, just a little bit.
Well, we've got a minute left.
What do you want to talk about?
What would you like to say anything about the loss at against Loyola, or how about the win against Mercyhurst?
We didn't play very well either night.
Well, against Mercyhurst, you put in the second unit for the third game, and they came from behind and won that one.
Yeah, I thought I'd teach everybody a lesson. Well, instead they taught me a lesson. We still lost on Saturday night. I was really tickled for those kids on Friday night, though, because we did put them in, somewhat out of frustration because our first group beats Mercyhurst very easily and then turns around and has to battle to win game 2, and there's no excuse for that. So we put all those young kids in there, and they played with a lot of enthusiasm, and a lot of people have told me that was maybe the most fun set they've watched all year.
Well, I think they probably were down by 1. They're facing game point at least 3 times, and each time got the side out and finally ended up winning it.
Yeah, we were down 7-2, 9-4 to start off with, so I'm just happy for those kids. They got a chance to play, and they did well.
It was an exciting game and a great win, and those kids deserved it. When we come back, we're going to have David White, known as Isaac White, on the team, and we'll talk a little bit with him about his experiences as a volleyball, so please stay with us.
Next time on.
Step out of the car. Open up the trunk. Check inside. What's going on? Hands on the car.
Bingo.
Spotted.
Today's teenagers, the way people talk, you'd think they can't do anything right. It's just not so. We get to know over 300,000 kids a year, smart kids who know what they want. They believe in themselves, and they believe in America. Some go straight to college. Others choose to learn leadership, discipline, courage, and commitment first with us. Today's military, making a stronger America, one good kid at a time.
A new century is coming, and with it, 1,000 questions. Will your family ever be in harm's way? Will a small town in Texas be hit with a hurricane? Will your daughter ever need a new kind of blood treatment? We have no crystal ball for the world that awaits. Just one promise. We'll be there.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. Our guest this week is David White. He's known as Isaac White on the team. And the first thing I'm going to do is find out why that is. What your real name is David, right? Is Isaac like your middle name or a nickname?
Yeah, that's my middle name.
So it is a real name.
Yeah.
Sometimes when Coach Ball calls players by certain names, I'm never sure whether he's making them up or...
Well, it's hard to tell. He calls everybody anything he wants to.
That's right. He's either extremely forgetful or very creative. I'm just not sure which, right?
It's hard to tell.
So did you grow up with Isaac?
Yeah, everyone always called me Isaac growing up, and actually no one's ever called me David until this year.
And you got into, Mike Jewell's responsible then, right?
Yeah.
He put you in the media guide as David White.
Yeah. So.
Oh, we'll have to straighten that out.
I guess so.
You're in your third year of playing with IPFW, and last year you sat out, so you've really been here, 4 years, right?
No, well, I've been here 3 years.
3 years.
My freshman year, and then I sat out last year, and then I'm back again this year. So, got 1 year left to go.
Okay. You play a number of different positions. I think you've been setting for the second unit at practice a lot, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've played some Liberace for us, and you've also hit on the left side, right?
Left side and right side freshman year.
That's right. You play. Yeah, that's right. You were opposite 2 years ago.
Yeah. So
you've played a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I'm moving around quite a bit.
You got to carry El Guapo 1 year, didn't you?
No, I got to carry a lot of other things, but someone else got
so
to
you
carry
haven't?
El Guapo. No, I missed out on that privilege.
Well, you got a year of eligibility left, don't you?
Well, let's hope the freshmen get to keep it.
Well, we just may have to work that in. You may be carrying him on all the long trips.
All right, just boost the meal money. I'll be happy to carry it.
Actually, the carrying case may need repaired. We'll try to make it heavier.
Oh, yeah?
Now, because it's just not quite sturdy enough.
Steel plates on the side.
Yeah, that's right.
Good.
Steel plated. That's right. So, tell us a little bit about your volleyball background before you came to IPFW.
Well, the high school I went to was a private high school, and there's only about 100 kids, but we had a team and actually did really well in state. Went to the Final 8 1 year, and after that started getting into club volleyball and played a lot on the beach. Won a regional AVP juniors tour and got to go on a free trip to California and all that sort of stuff. And somewhere along the lines ended up over here. So
you were near Columbus. Did you play a club in the Columbus area?
Actually, I played in a club out of Akron, Ohio, where Nick Bellman is from, and his folks were the ones that started the club, and I was there the year that it was starting up and went to nationals and took third in the club division of that. So it was quite a drive every week, actually, excuse me. 2 times a week, 3 times a week sometimes, making an hour-and-a-half drive up there to practice for a couple hours.
Yeah, club was tough. My daughter played it, and fortunately she played in the Fort Wayne club, so practices were okay. And then the season being the same as ours, my wife always had the responsibility for taking her to the Sunday tournament she was playing in. I got out of that.
Well, luckily the Bellmans were really good about getting everything organized and taking us along, making sure everyone got to the site all right, and if our parents couldn't make it, someone was there to give us a ride or whatever. So it was a pretty good club team.
But in addition to playing volleyball, you also were doing some roofing on the side, weren't you? You had your own little roofing business?
Yeah, I've been doing that since my junior year of high school. Me and my brother started that up, and then he moved out to Washington State, where I went for my first year of college and started another company there, and I decided to continue running the one in Ohio during the summertime. So I've been doing that and off and on, just basically during the summertime. But
So even this last summer, I thought you were around here this last summer.
No, I was back home.
Okay.
Roofing, laying
And then when
shingles.
you came back to school, you wanted to clean out gutters or whatever. You were advertising that, weren't you?
Me and Matt made a little bit of cash doing that, cleaning out people's gutters.
You don't drive a Bobcat and clean out driveways with snow, do you?
No, unfortunately. I'd love to have a Bobcat. Those things
They are
fun.
neat.
Those are fun to drive.
Yeah, the Bobcat is the most useful piece of equipment ever invented,
I
I
tell
think.
you what, it's a blast to drive, a little tank.
That's right. So I guess we got to go back to volleyball. This week our intent is to talk about volleyball as little as possible, because that's all we talked about last week. So
Well,
we're
it's
trying
working.
to balance things. So let's talk a little bit about volleyball.
Okay.
Your first year here, you were our opposite much of the season, as you said. Last year you did not play. This year you've been doing a little bit of everything. Talk a little bit about, for instance, you set for the second team during practice. Talk about how important it is for whoever's on that side of the net to really push the practice and how, in a lot of ways, your unit is the one that has the responsibility to make practice successful.
Well, yeah, it's kind of tough sometimes. I mean, the people on the other side of the net from us are at a higher caliber as far as physically, a little more capable, jump higher, whatever, and we're supposed to compete just as hard and be able to push them to be able to become better. And so it's tough for us to get in there, but every day we learn so much more than probably they learn, because we're playing against better competition. So it's a lot of fun, but it's not as much fun as being on the other side of the court.
Well, it's also the opportunity for a player to be promoted, if you will, to the other side of the net.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. You know, coach gets to watch us play over there and see who's putting forth the most effort, and maybe we'll beat out somebody for their spot on the other side.
And when we have an alum come back to scrimmage with us, you get them on your side, right?
That's right. So we get the old experience coming through. So
And this year you got Coach Parrott every day.
that's right. Faithful middles.
What's it like? Let's talk about, this is Tuesday when we're taping this. So you've had one night of practice since last weekend. We go on the road Tuesday, and then we're back on the road Friday. What, for instance, yesterday at practice, what was the focus?
Yesterday. What did we
Yesterday
do
was
in
Monday.
practice?
Probably got yelled at for losing to Loyola, right?
Well, actually, coach didn't yell a whole lot this weekend, and I'm not sure why that is. It seemed kind of strange, but we just came into. Actually, we had a practice on Sunday night, just for an hour and a half, and he worked a lot with backcourt defense, because that seems to be a place we're mostly struggling. Guys are putting the ball away fairly consistently, but we just aren't digging very many balls in the backcourt. So really, that's been the main focus when we've been the beginning of this week, getting ready to go over to Ohio State.
You've spent some time as a libero, Liberace as I call it. So I have no idea what libero means or even how to pronounce it. So Liberace seems easier.
Okay.
So you've played some of that. You also, under the old rules, you played the defensive sub where you go in and served and then played those 3 rotations. So you've been in situations where your focus is strictly defense.
Yeah, the biggest thing I've noticed is as the team has become better blocking, it becomes more easy to dig. As the block is more consistent, you know where the ball has to go. And in the last couple of games, it seems like the block has struggled a little bit. We haven't blocked as many balls as we have in some of our first matches, and that has part to do with why we aren't digging as many balls. But you just always got to be on the go, always ready to dive. Can't worry about getting hit in the face with the ball or whatever. But it's coming fast, no doubt about that.
Well, one of the most important things the block does is try to force the hitter to hit around it and make the hitter hit where he doesn't want to, which is why you'll line up where you think if he comes around the block where he's going to hit, you kind of get into a channel, don't you?
Exactly. Try to channel the ball someplace where it's playable.
And then what becomes difficult for you, if he in fact comes through the block or over the block, then you have to adjust, and there's not, as you say, there's not a lot of time at the speed that ball's coming.
Exactly. Those are the tough balls to play, and that's when it's a great play. We have to be expected. If the ball comes straight at us, we got to be expected to play it no matter what. But it's those balls that are coming over the top or tipped or whatever that we've got to read and just make a great play on.
That's the other thing that's important. If the blockers get a touch or a tip, the ball's hopefully going to go up in the air. Then you have to immediately get out of your defensive position and run it down, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And bring it back onto the court.
Exactly. Always got to be on the go.
Well, that's good for a roofer, right? You're pretty nimble up there on the roof.
I try to be. I've only fallen a couple times.
Do you really carry all those shingles up the ladder yourself? Or
No, we have them craned up there.
Oh.
I got tired of that. We tried that the first year we did it because we were trying to save a little money. And for $30, they'll put them on the roof. I don't have to do all that hiking around. That's nice.
That sounds like $30 well spent.
Definitely.
I like your plan.
Thank you.
That's our resident entrepreneur, Isaac White, also known as David, although Isaac is what he prefers. When we come back, Coach Ball will be here. We'll talk a little bit about our matches this week against Ohio State and Ball State. Maybe even get to a Loyola, but I doubt it. Please stay with us.
Hey, I got a filet of sole and a cracked crab for Mr. Studied higher math back in school and now can order expensive lunches and charge it to the company.
He's in a meeting. I'm his never studied algebra, calculus, or any other kind of math. Now I'm stuck in this dead-end job assistant.
Can you sign for it?
It's about the only thing I'm qualified to do. That and answer phones for Mr. AP Calculus and number theory expert with the big office upstairs.
Have a good one.
You too.
May he bless you and keep you. May he grant you peace. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all for coming. I'll see you all next week, and please be careful going home. Thank you.
This is me, and my mom and dad, and my big brother Alex, and Jack. This is the day I learned that Santas got their name from sand, and that the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget I was sick. This was my wish.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. Arnie, one of the last comments that Isaac made, we were talking about the backcourt defense and how you're focusing on that, and I think he made a very astute comment, is that our blocking has deteriorated somewhat over the last couple of weeks, and that's really made it even tougher on our backcourt defense.
Well, you and I alluded to that, or you alluded to it in the first segment a little bit. And some of that blocking is directly related to our serving, and you keep all our serving stats, and I don't think we're nearly as effective serving as we were early in the season against Santa Barbara. If you serve the ball well, it allows you to set up your blocking systems. Against Loyola and Mercyhurst, they both were able to pass our serve and run middle, and when they ran their middle effectively, because both those teams hit over 500 in the middle against us, then your middle blockers start guessing, and when they start guessing, you have great holes in your defense, and it makes it much more difficult to play backcourt defense.
Some of the problem with serving, like I think it was Mercyhurst on Friday night when Dennis had, was that when Dennis had 9
Yes,
aces?
that's correct, had 9 aces.
I think that was probably a school record, wasn't it?
Yes.
That really makes the serving numbers look very good, but there was an awful lot of serving going on that wasn't very strong that night.
Well, if you go to the next night, Dennis had 9 serving errors.
Yeah.
And we can't give them, I think we were up close to 20 on Saturday night, and we were in the teens on Friday night. You can't give teams that many points and make them do nothing to receive them, but on top of that, you can't just go back and underhand it over, because all the teams then run their offense like what we just talked about, and you can't defend it. So there's really a fine line there of being aggressive, but yet making sure the ball goes into the court.
We're going to leave in about an hour for Ohio State. We played them in Linton, Indiana in the fall and beat them, but they didn't have their whole team there. Of course, we didn't have Jeff playing either, so what are you looking forward to tonight?
Well, they did not have two players that are now playing, two freshman kids, a kid named Mark Greaves from St. Louis and Andy Cole from Wisconsin. Cole's a 6'6" left-handed kid that plays opposite, who's very, very athletic. And the Greaves boy is maybe as good a freshman player as we have in the conference in regards to his ability to pass the ball and hit the ball on the left side. So those are two new factors that we didn't see down in Linton. And I expect them to be very significant contributors to this match for Ohio State. Everybody else was there down there. They have a big middle, Peterson kid who's really good, and then Trent Trantow, who's their their big returner, big stud returner offensively. I expect this to be a very, very competitive match. If we can raise our level of consistency in all phases of the game, and especially in the unforced error part, serving and attacking, and from 20 points on, if we get this, that is, if we get to 20 points in each set, well, I think it'll be a very close match.
We've struggled traditionally over in St. John's Arena, haven't we?
Yes, we have. With the exception of the year, let's see, what year did we win the MIVA over there? Didn't we win the MIVA over there one year? I thought we did.
Well,
Or we ended up losing in the finals maybe one year over there.
Friday night we go to Ball State. That, of course, always an interesting match. Ball State's been struggling a little bit in the last couple of weeks, haven't they?
Ball State lost to Loyola 3-0 a week ago. Then they lost to Ball State, or to Ohio State, to last Friday in 5-set match. Right now, they are unable to come up with a set lineup. Joel's really juggling the kids around. Obviously, the setup position is very solid and very good. The opposite is also very good, and those two positions won't change, and so is Mark Denmark, the next two middle. After that, they've been rotating a lot of people through, so apparently they're having some personnel problems of consistency of some kind because he's been playing a lot of people.
You mentioned Loyola beat Ball State. I think the comment that you said it before we started taping today, Denny said the same thing Saturday night, is that Loyola team is really, really good. They're actually a better team than we are.
Well, they have 5 starters back from last year's team that ended up losing to Ball State in the finals of our conference tournament. I mean, there's no reason to expect why they shouldn't be a really good team. And the young man that replaced the kid that graduated did a good job against us Saturday night. He hadn't done a very good job the rest of the year, but he did against us. Their ball control is very good. We made, in set 4, we made 3 or 4 really nice plays, transition plays, where Jeff cranked the ball from the left side and the other barrel dug it. We get the ball back, and Angel hits a back C, a back quick. Justin Snorstander, he digs it. I mean, they touch a lot of balls, and they make you beat yourself, which is what we did. The thing about that team is that they're not going to get better. I mean, and they're a good team, but they're not going to get better because they're at the best level they can play right now. I think our team can get better, and therefore I think that we have every potential to compete with that team consistently, but we just have to get better at unforced errors in particular.
And our goal the whole season was to keep building and get continually better, so by the time the conference tournament comes around, we're at the top of our game for this season.
Well, we have to have one other goal. We'd like to finish the top 4 so we can play that quarterfinal match at home, but then it's just a crapshoot when you get to the end.
Well, another week here at Channel 56, right?
In the good old Midwest where we get lots and lots of snow.
Nothing on TV this weekend. We're on the road. The basketball teams apparently are not on TV either. They might be on the road. I'm not.
Yeah,
they're finishing
both
up.
gone. Mm-hmm.
So for head coach Arnie Ball, Isaac White, the whole crew here at Channel 56, our sponsors, Fujifilm, Alco Distributors, Farm Bureau Insurance, Freedom Financial, Glenbrook Dodge, Marathon Ashland Oil. This is Mark Franke. So long. Thanks for watching. Please join us again next week at this time. Welcome to another Arnie Ball Show. This week, we're going to preview our conference matches here at home against Clark and Ohio State. Our guest is senior libero backup setter Ryan Staley. And when we come back, Arnie and I will talk about two tough losses this last week to Ohio State and Ball State on the road. So please stay with us right here on Channel 56 Sports. Welcome to this week's Arnie Ball Show. I'm your host, Mark Franke, and our sponsors this week, as all season, are Marathon Ashland Oil, Glenbrook Dodge, Freedom Financial, Fujifilm, Alco Distributors, and Farm Bureau Insurance. Well, Arnie, two disappointing losses this last week. Friday night down at Ball State and Tuesday night last Tuesday, that is, at Ohio State. Conference matches on the road. We certainly hope to win at least one of those, if not both. But we didn't get the job done, did we?
You know, we were talking before the show with John and Mike.
I knew you were going to change the subject. I knew there was no way I could get you to talk about those matches.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about them. I want to talk about them.
Okay.
But Mike asked the question. I'm referring to Mike Moss, by the way. For those of you who don't know who Mike is, the voice of the Mastodons, Mr. Michael Moss. We were talking before, and he said, well, two conference losses, you know, you're kind of down. I said, yeah, we're disappointed. We'll talk about all those things. But he said, is there anything positive, anything? And I had to struggle and think about that, and I couldn't think of anything until right now. But I thought of something.
What's that?
They had a great time Friday night on the bus, on the fan bus.
Oh, on the fan bus.
That went to Ball State.
Oh, going back or coming down?
Both.
Both?
I can't really, yeah, both. They had a great time. You know, my mom was on there, and when my mom goes, everybody has a good time. Of course, Hartley was once again the leader of the party bus. So there was something good and exciting for our fans on Friday night, because there wasn't anything else that was good and exciting for our fans on Tuesday or Friday night.
Well, we had our traditional obligatory trip to the Pizza King there by the Ball State campus, so Coach Johnson wasn't disappointed.
That was the second, that was the only, well, that was the second highlight of the evening, wasn't it? The party bus and then Pizza King. It's a kind of a sad note when Pizza King is the highlight of the night, don't you think?
What is it about Pizza King and you Ball State alums? Apparently it's been there forever, and you used to eat there a lot when you were students?
It's the only thing we could afford when we were students there. And they probably allowed underage drinking or something, I don't know. I don't know, we ate there a lot, I know that. And there aren't any, there's one here in Fort Wayne, Clara's, over on State Street. And all I got to do is call Coach Johnson and go, let's go out and get something to eat. And he'll go, okay, we'll meet you at Clara's. That's the way it is.
We probably shouldn't have been talking about Pizza King, since Pizza Hut
I know, but
has a relationship with us here.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time at Pizza Hut.
That's right.
We were Friday night,
and we will again this Friday night.
So, you know, we give Pizza Hut a lot of publicity, and the food there is very good as well. But you got to have a little variety in your life. Right now, I don't have any.
Speaking of Pizza Hut, who's that group they're from Raytheon? And there used to be just a couple of guys who come and watch us, and they're real faithful. And then that started expanding. There's more of them now. Now they're bringing their wives and kids, and so they take up actually a bigger table than what our team does when they go to Pizza Hut.
Actually, I don't know how many wives and kids are there, because that's the singles club.
Oh, is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I notice now it's a mixed group.
Yeah, and Tim Howie, who's been involved in the singles club and volleyball forever in this town, almost as long as I have been. And the fact that we go over and done clinics and done a bunch of stuff with them, that's why they come to the games.
Ah, well, that group is growing.
That's who it is. It's a singles club. And Tim works for Raytheon, so that's why you would think that might be associated with them.
Okay, well, it's nice to have fans that have stuck through us through some tough years, and this year maybe we can give them a little more excitement this weekend.
Well, I'll tell you what, of course, we didn't get a chance to talk about last weekend either, and we'll talk about Ohio State and Ball State as well, but we went through that fiasco last weekend when the roof in the building leaked, and we had to shut down, Channel 56 and take an hour delay and move to the practice court, et cetera, et cetera. And the only reason I bring that back up is because the fact that all those people that were there in the blizzard all stayed.
Yeah.
It was an hour long, and Brian Miller did karaoke and had a great time. Brian did a wonderful job of entertaining those people, and we ended up finished playing the match. So unfortunately, once again, we lost to Loyola, and what I thought was a pretty well played match on both sides.
Yeah.
But credit our fans of hanging around in that blizzard and having to wait for an hour while we moved the court over because of the leak in the gym, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that's the kind of fans we have.
Well, I was watching the match a little bit Sunday night on Channel 56. I thought they'd stop filming when they had to break down all their cameras so we can move those bleachers back. And I saw they had a camera. I think it might have been Bernie with it, and Mike Moss was with a microphone. I thought that was just to make Mike feel like he was important, but he, in fact, was actually, they were broadcasting the match. It's just one camera and just Mike there, but they actually finished the broadcast.
We still lost it, didn't we?
Yeah, we still lost.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on. Now, what were we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about losing to Ohio State and Ball State.
We did. We lost both those.
And you wanted to talk about that.
We lost Ohio State in 4 and Ball State in 3. In the Ohio State match, we won the first set, which everybody says, this team's a slow starter, you got to get over the hump, we're starting quickly, so we start quickly and we still lose. So much for that theory.
Well, one thing that we did change, although apparently didn't help us win, but it did improve, and that was the serving. You and Denny have been talking about maybe starting off less aggressively with serving to reduce the number of errors, and we certainly reduced the number of errors. At Ball State, we really broke down their passing.
Well, we did that to Ohio State too, Mark. If you remember, in the first game, we broke them down. They actually had to take that young left side out of the game. Same thing happened at Ball State. They had to take their left side out of the game, but then we couldn't finish on that. And we did. We reduced our service errors dramatically. The team still can't pass the ball, but we still are unable to continually side out with our offense. Our offense is still struggling, and we just got to keep working on it, because if you don't side out consistently in the rally score game, you're going to lose. If you look at the Ohio State scores, the first game we won, I think 30-25, then I think 30-26 they won. Then the third game is 32-30. I mean, remember, it could have gone either direction. We had a couple swings, hit balls out of bounds. And in the fourth game, once again, the game was very close, and right at the end, they jump out and win. At Ball State, we're ahead 20-16, something like 20-18 in the first game. We literally run them off the floor the first half, first 2/3 of the game, and then the same thing happens again. And our passing was really better. Our passing was better than Ohio State's and Ball State's, but we still end up losing.
And that's particularly noteworthy for an IPFW team that historically has a strong part of its game at side-out offense.
Well, and we've become way too predictable. I mean, Maddie's the only one that's done consistently high numbers offensively, and so now Dennis is setting every ball to Maddie, and Maddie has 62 swings at Ohio State. That's way too many for Maddie. Not that we don't want him to swing the ball, but that we got to have a better distribution than that. Sadar had one set in 4 sets, or 1 set in 4 matches. That we can't do that.
Yeah, it needs to be better balanced.
Yeah, it has to be. And we have to have better results from the balance.
That's right. We need to have higher numbers from a number of other players than just Maddie.
Exactly right.
When we come back, our guest will be Ryan Staley. Ryan is a senior libero, also serves as backup setter, and will play the left side when called upon as well. So please stay with us.
Hi, I'm Cindy Thompson for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. Real life is not always a song, and in less time than it takes to play the latest country hit, someone will be injured or killed in an alcohol-related crash. So next time you're out with someone who's been drinking, don't let them take the wheel. Take the keys instead. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
This party isn't all that it's cracked up to be.
It's the most magnificent sight in the universe. This planet full of life and wonder. This planet we call home. As an Earth Team volunteer, you can help the Natural Resources Conservation Service care for it, right in your own community. Call 1-888-LAND-CARE to find out how, because there's just no place like home.
Excuse me, I can't seem to find these anywhere.
These books are no longer available.
I didn't know.
May I have your name, please?
Why?
Excuse me.
What did I do?
We just have a couple of questions.
Easy, easy.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. Our guest this week is Ryan Staley. Ryan is a senior. He plays libero, he plays setter at times, he can play the left side when we need him there. He can play just about anything. He's rather versatile, although the one thing for which you are not versatile in, and I want to compliment you on this, is your hair color stays the same week to week. And not a lot of players are capable of doing that.
Well, you know, I'm not really into that stuff sometimes, so.
So you're not into the dyeing the blonde, or the one year when Hector dyed his hair red, or bright red, like cardinal red?
No,
when we were playing Ball State.
Really?
Yeah, that's pretty stupid, isn't it?
Well, you know, whatever gets the other team going.
Okay,
or your team.
Yeah, I guess. Ryan, let's talk a little bit about your background. You played your first of all, you're from the Chicago area.
Yeah.
You went for your freshman year to Rutgers Newark, and then transferred here, and so you're finishing your third season with us, correct?
Yes.
And during that time, you've seen all sorts of positions, haven't you? As I mentioned in the introduction.
Yeah, I started, actually my first year here, I sat out because I was ineligible, so I sat and watched the 2000 team play and stuff. Did, you know, some libero stuff and some setting stuff in practice. The next year I ended up being the setter, and then last year I ended up at outside hitter because due to injuries and things like that, and then this year just playing all those different roles.
You've been playing libero the last couple of weeks, and then this last week we used Javier there, so that makes you available, of course, for backup setting. Actually, we don't really have a true backup setter, do we? Because if we got you in as libero, and something should happen to Dennis, because of the rules, the libero can't change his position.
Yeah, I mean, the rules, with the rules I can change in between games, obviously, but yeah, I mean, we've got Isaac. I mean, Isaac can come in there and do the job, I think, and he can do it well, but obviously not as well as Dennis. So, yeah, well, I think we're, you know, in that tough position, and I understand that too. I mean, talking with Rock and coach and stuff, I understand that, you know, it's kind of tough to be in the position that I'm in right now.
There are a lot of players in a lot of sports where they're sort of like you. They can play multiple positions. They're probably not going to be in the starting lineup, but invariably the coach or the manager calls on them to fill in where someone is not performing, or perhaps is injured or whatever, or they just need a different kind of player out there. It's, John's reminded me, says we used to call them utility players. I don't know if that's the term still used or not.
Obviously I think it is, because I've heard that already this year. It's hard. I mean, knowing that you're not going to start, and I mean, you know, not every player comes in to the school saying, "Hey, I'm going to be the best utility player the school's ever seen." But you know, yeah, I accept that. You know what I mean? Because I know that it's important to this team to have that position, to have that backup. You know, that person always there in case something happens, and you know, in case the coach looks down the bench and says, "Okay, hey, this needs to be done."
So. Talk a little bit, Ryan, about the 4 years you've been here. You talked about 2000. That was the year after we'd gotten just within a heartbreak of playing for the national championship in '99, and we had most of that team back. We lost Ryan Parrott and Javier Escobar, I think were about it. But we had most of that team back, including our two All-Americans, yet we just could not seem to come together as a team that year. Ohio State, I believe, won our conference, and we just could not beat them in 3 attempts.
It's kind of disappointing from my end to sit on the bench and to watch that good of a team not succeed, you know, like we believed we should have done. But on the other end, it was really fun to watch that team, and I learned a lot from Chris and from Hector and those guys. And I think that I got way better just playing against them every day. You know, I mean, people have made a comment, well, why don't you go to a smaller school, you know, where you could have been a star or whatever. And it's like, I told them that I felt that I have achieved and learned a lot more by being here and not playing, but just being on the court with those guys.
Now let's move to the 2 middle years. I think you spent most of last year as a setter, didn't you? No, Dennis was last year. The year before, you were our setter most of the year. But you had a team that had almost no experience. We didn't have a big recruiting class coming in. We were kind of short in terms of the number of players available. And then last year, we had the 2 injuries, of course, to Jeff and Maddie, which took them out, and we had to reconstruct the team, and you played left side a good part of that year. Talk a little bit about what it was like and the kinds of frustrations that you go through as a player when your team is really struggling.
Gosh, it's like you said, it's frustrating. You know, it's hard to know that, you know, you got a bunch of kids that can't compete, you know, physically, but you just, like, experience-wise and things, you come against these teams that are just bigger and just a little bit stronger than you, you know, and especially my position, having not really ever played outside hitter in a, like, I mean, I played it back in club ball in high school and stuff, but to play at the college level and to be a starting outside hitter, you know, it's just it's kind of like, well, wow, you know.
You give up a significant height differential there because you're what, 6'2", 6'3"?
6'2", yeah.
Whereas most of the outside hitters are 6'4", 6'5" in that area.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, I think luckily God graced me with a decent vertical, you know, so I can compete, you know, at least in that respect. And my experience helped, you know, just overall volleyball experience, and I attribute that to my background in volleyball, playing back in high school and club ball and stuff, and teaching me just every position. But you know, you just sometimes you just have to be you have to be smarter than the opponent, you know.
Well, there are probably 2 aspects to your game that stand out. One, I'm sure the fans see. The other, they probably don't. The one the fans see are your competitiveness, the way you just give maximum effort. That you go after balls. I mean, you don't always have the best night like any other athlete, but you're always trying hard and working hard to try to make that one play that will turn the game around, especially if we're trailing.
Yeah, and you know, I know that with a lot of sports, I know coach, especially with golf, there's a lot of visualization with it, and I always visualize myself, you know, sometimes lying in bed or whatever, you know, making that dig or diving for that ball, you know, that just is hit straight down, but you dive for it and you just try to dig it. And sometimes I try to get that done in practice or in the games and stuff. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't.
The other thing I want to talk about, and this probably is not real noticeable to the fans who just see you, you know, on a couple weekends a year. You're a very knowledgeable volleyball player. You have a mind more like a coach maybe than a player. Let me point out an example, and I don't mean to embarrass you by this. I'm going to embarrass myself is what I'm going to do. One of my jobs is to get the other team's lineup, and they hid their lineup one time, and you caught it before I did. You were on the bench watching that and immediately noticed that they were hiding where their setter was, and they were not in the rotation that was the obvious one, and you in fact got it before I did.
What was that, Finley, I think? Maybe,
yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that comes back to, I mean, I've been refereeing volleyball since I was 16. Actually, I was doing college matches before I could even work high school matches due to age limitations. So part of that comes back to refereeing and just knowing how teams line up and how, you know, reading the players and how they react sometimes, you know, kind of they show things where they, you know, visual expressions on how they're kind of, you know, trying to trick the other team. Just, you know, like playing so long and being around the people, you know, that, you know, have taught me stuff and things like that, and just watching tons of volleyball.
Do you hope to, after your playing career is done, and I believe you're going to graduate this spring, we'll talk about that in just a minute, but do you plan to either go into refereeing on a regular basis, or you hope to coach?
My future plans are to get into collegiate level coaching and maybe even higher, hopefully.
At the men's or women's level, or both?
I haven't decided yet. Maybe, I mean, we'll just see, you know, maybe both, try both and see what happens. But yeah, college coaching is definitely what I want to do.
Wait, as I said just a moment ago, you are going to graduate. What's your degree going to be in?
General studies, but my main area of study will be history and anthropology. My mom thought it was really weird when I went from engineering to that, but it's just something that I find really interesting, and I decided I'd rather study something interesting than, make a whole lot of money, I guess.
Are you doing any of your teacher certification training with that, or do you not ever see yourself teaching at the high school level?
That is another possibility. With my general studies degree, I can continue on to get a teaching certificate, and so that is definitely one of the things that I'm looking to get to.
Okay, very good. That's Ryan Staley. Ryan is a senior on the team, as we said, a utility player, and will be graduating this spring. When we come back, Arnie and I are going to at least try to talk about our upcoming matches against Clark and Ohio State here at home this weekend. So please keep it right here on Channel 56.
As time flows on, there are places we return to again and again. Places that comfort us with their serenity. Places that astound us with their beauty. Places where our memories come to life. Precious places, timeless places, places that with your help can endure forever. I'm Paul Newman. Help the Nature Conservancy save the last great places around the world.
I was a liberal arts major in college.
I didn't speak a second language.
What could I?
What could I offer the Peace Corps?
The answer surprised me. I served in South Africa teaching HIV/AIDS awareness.
Working with my students in Nicaragua was a great experience. We taught each other a lot about our countries and cultures.
This is the Peace Corps today.
Redefine your world. Join the Peace Corps.
Apply now at peacecorps.gov.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. Arnie, we talked about our losses to Ohio State and Ball State during this last week. We get Ohio State back this weekend here at home on Saturday night. Of course, we have Clark on Friday night. And we talked about, the Pizza Hut thing after Friday and so forth. Saturday, though, I heard you predicting to John and Mike that Saturday night was going to be a very exciting match. So what do you know that you need to tell the millions of viewers out there in Channel 56 audience?
Well, maybe I'm just being optimistic here. We're right in the middle of the season, and we need to make a stand here. Certainly, the Clark match on Friday night. Clark is not a very good volleyball program at this level. They're a very good program at the Division III level, which is what they are. So Friday night should be an opportunity for us not only to play our starters for a little bit, but get some other kids a chance to play as well. We're taping this thing on the show on Tuesday, and we've had meetings with our senior people, Jeff and Angel in particular, because those are our captains, and talked about some things that we're not doing and not doing very well. I really believe that this week's practice and preparation will be very good. And we talked earlier about the match with Ohio State, how close it was at their place. I believe that we will play well here at home because of where we're at in the season and what we need to do, and the players understand that. And I believe Angel and Jeff, because Jeff's not played well yet. Maybe a little bit, maybe the Santa Barbara match.
Second Santa Barbara match, yeah.
But other than that, he's not played well yet. And I think he's physically now healed to the point that he can train at a high level in practice and do some things that he needs to do to become the leader of this team offensively. And we will work very hard on the distribution thing that we talked about in the first segment, in regards to getting the ball, especially to Angel in the middle and to Jeff on the outside. Our kids know that we are a better team than what we've been playing. And I firmly believe that we will practice that way and play that way this weekend.
One of the players that I think you've been impressed with during the last couple of weeks has been Angel 2, the freshman outside who's opposite of Jeff. You've liked some of the things you've seen from him even while the team has been struggling.
Actually, there are two freshmen that I like a lot. Angel's one of them. Against Ball State, I think he hit about 45%, and normally he only gets the bad sets, because we're always looking for Angel, Maddie, and Jeff in system, as we call it. So Angel gets the balls that aren't in system because that's the last resort. He did really a good job with that. I thought his passing has been real stable. Looking at the videotape, his backcourt defense has been very aggressive, which is actually better than almost anybody else we have on the team at this point. Maybe other than Dennis in regards to backcourt defense. His blocking is very marginal. That's the part we have to work on. Since we brought him down with his serve, his float serving, we scored a lot of points off his serve, something you alluded to earlier in regards to our serving. So I think that he has really made nice progress. Now, obviously, he has to continue to get better. He needs to be more emotional on the floor, and he has to be a better blocker.
Normally, you don't encourage Puerto Rican players to be more emotional.
Well, I'll tell you right now, and you know this, that we need more from Angel, we need more from Angel. Dennis sometimes gets real into himself and doesn't use that personality that he's got. So we've got to get more out of not only those kids, but everybody in general. One of those players who does do that is Mike Dyga.
Yeah.
Dyga came off the bench at Ohio State, if you remember, because Sadar's shoestring broke. So Dyga comes in and serves 3 or 4 points, blocks a couple of balls. Same thing happened at Ball State.
Well, you were so happy with him at Ohio State, even though he came in just because of a broken shoestring. You kept him in. You didn't immediately send
Sadar back in, and he did a good job. And there was an opportunity at Ball State the other night for him to play. Same thing happened. And if you recall, the energy that he brings, the talking, the backslapping, the high-fiving, all comes from Mike Dyga. I mean, that's not the way it's supposed to be. But I'm really, really pleased with his performance, and you're going to see him play some more.
It's really nice to have a third middle you can bring in. Plus, you can use him on the left side if you need him there.
Well, right now he's the most effective float server we have. Yeah. So it's it's very unusual to bring a freshman kid in and make him your designated server back, and he plays defense. I mean, he does some really, really nice things. He's just going to get to see more playing time.
Well, those two freshmen will be here at home both nights this weekend, as well as the rest of the team. On Friday night, it'll be at 7 o'clock at the Gates Center, Clark College from Dubuque, Iowa, and then afterwards at Pizza Hut. On Saturday night, it'll be televised here on Channel 56. I think probably Mike Moss and Kelly Hartley will be doing that again. And so
let's hope we don't have to move this time.
Let's hope we can actually get it in. No snow blowing in. And so if you can't make it out at 7 o'clock, please watch on Channel 56. For head coach Arnie Ball, our guest Ryan Staley, the staff here at Channel 56, our sponsors, Farm Bureau Insurance, Alco Distributors, Fujifilm, Freedom Financial, Glenbrook Dodge, Marathon Oil. This is Mark Franke. So long, thanks for watching, and please join us again next week.